welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a guide to the Off-Campus series by Elle Kennedy. So I basically wanted to do a guide to this series just to give a general overview of what each of these books are about, just for anyone who has been thinking about reading them and maybe wants to know more. This will just kind of give you some more information about each of the books and like kind of the characters and the plots and the tropes that they follow. And there's also a new book coming out called The Legacy, which is kind of just an extension of these books, and that comes out September 21st. So since that's coming soon, I just kind of wanted to make this video before that because now is just perfect timing to read these books if you've been thinking about it. So these books I would say are pretty popular on TikTok right now. That's kind of how I discovered them. I read them at the beginning of summer and I just became like obsessed with these books. The series is great. I love it so much and I didn't expect to love it as much as I do, especially because these are sports romance and I had never read like any sports romance before until I read these books, and I just love them. They're great and now I'm like a huge fan of sports romance. So like I said, I'll just be going into like the characters, the general plot, the tropes of each of these books. There's obviously not going to be any spoilers because it's just a guide to each of these books. So this is a series of 4 books. They are all sports romance, college hockey more specifically. They take place at a made-up university in Massachusetts. It's called Briar University. And so these books follow 4 friends who are also roommates, and so each book follows a different friend and kind of like their love story. There's also a spin-off series called Briar U. That's just another 4 books that follows another 4 couples, and it's basically just kind of some of the side characters from these books. They kind of get like their own books in that series. But for this video, I'm just going to be sticking to Off-Campus and explaining the first 4 books, but I do just want to like mention that there are a total of 8 books. So before I share the order, these books are interconnected standalones. They don't need to be read in order, but I would recommend reading them in order just because they kind of go chronologically in order, but you can skip a book if you want. It should still make sense. I recommend not skipping them. I think they're all great and I think they're all worth reading. But the first book in the series is The Deal, and then the next book is The Mistake. The third book is The Score, and then the last book is The Goal. So just a quick side note, I do recommend checking trigger warnings for each of these books. They are meant to be just fun, lighthearted romance for the most part, but they each do deal with kind of some heavier content, so definitely check trigger warnings if you need to. So like I said, the first book is The Deal. This book follows Hannah and Garrett, and it also has a fake dating trope, and it's also kind of friends to lovers. And so in this book, Hannah and Garrett, they're both juniors at Briar U, and Hannah is a music major, and then Garrett is kind of like the star hockey player. He's also the captain of the hockey team. So basically, Hannah has a crush on this guy named Justin. He's a football player and he doesn't really know she exists, and she's in this class with him, and Garrett is also in that class. And so they all took an exam and Hannah passed the exam and Garrett failed, and so he's kind of stressing because he obviously needs to be passing to continue to play hockey. And so that day, as they're walking out, Hannah and Garrett accidentally bump into each other, and then Garrett, he sees that Hannah passed her test, and at this point they don't know each other. Hannah knows who Garrett is because he's very popular, but he has no idea who she is. And so he sees that she passed her test and he asks her to tutor him because he needs help, because he's going to take a retake of the test and he needs to pass. And so Hannah says no just because she kind of knows who Garrett is, she knows his reputation, and she just kind of rejects him right away. But Garrett really needs the help, and so he keeps being like persistent and asking her, and eventually he notices that she has a crush on Justin, and so he strikes up a deal with her where if she helps him study for the test, he will help her get Justin's attention by going on a fake date with her. So the story kind of goes from there. They obviously start to hang out and like form a friendship, and I really love this book. It does a really great job at just hooking you into this series and making you want to read more. I would say Hannah and Garrett are kind of one of the fan favorites of all the couples, and I personally really love them. I really love Garrett. He's probably my favorite of all the guys, and of course they're kind of like the original couple that kind of starts off this whole series. But this is a really great book. I love it, and it definitely got me hooked on this series. So the next book in the series is The Mistake, and this one follows John Logan and Grace, and it also follows a second chance romance trope. So in this book, Logan, he's kind of been crushing on Hannah, and along with that, he has just a lot of other things going on in his life. And so he's kind of just been hooking up with all these girls just to like distract himself from everything going on. And he ends up meeting this freshman named Grace, and at this point, Logan is a junior. So they kind of have this random meeting. He accidentally shows up at her dorm room when he was trying to meet up with a friend, and he ends up hanging out with her, and they kind of start to hang out after that. But she's just kind of a distraction for him, but at the same time, Grace is kind of falling for him. And it gets to a point where after a few weeks, Grace really likes him and she trusts him and she wants to lose her virginity to him. And then he kind of just breaks her heart because he's just been kind of using her as a distraction. And so, of course, she's upset, and the school year ends. They don't talk to each other. They don't talk through the rest of the summer, and then the following school year starts up, and at this point she's obviously a sophomore and Logan is a senior, and he realizes that he messed up with Grace and he wants a second chance, so now he's trying to win her back. So this book is really cute. I love it a lot. I personally really love Logan, and I really like Grace too. I think she's kind of one of the more relatable of all the girls to me. And I personally just really love kind of the development that they go through, especially just Grace as a character and then just them as a couple. It's just a really great book. So the next book is The Score, and this one follows Dean and Allie, and it also follows a friends with benefits trope. So Allie is Hannah's best friend and roommate, and Dean, of course, he's also one of the friends and roommates of the other guys, and he's kind of like the guy who just like hooks up with all these girls. And Allie is more of the type of person to like be in a relationship and be committed to a person. And so basically she has been in this relationship for a while, I think since her freshman year of college, and at this point they are seniors. And so she just broke up with her boyfriend, and Hannah tells her to go stay at the boys' house for the weekend just so she can avoid her boyfriend. So when she gets there, Dean is there, and she kind of makes him like hang out with her for a little bit because she wants to make sure that she doesn't call her ex so that he doesn't contact her. And so she's there hanging out with Dean, and then he gets bored. He decides to bring out some alcohol, and then they obviously start drinking, and then the next morning Allie wakes up and then she realizes that she slept with Dean. So Allie is kind of panicking a little bit because, like I said, she's the type of person to just like be in a relationship, not do anything casual, and so it was just like a one-time thing for her. But then Dean wants to see her again. He keeps trying to contact her, and she tries to like avoid him for a little bit, and so eventually she kind of gives in, and they decide to form this friends with benefits relationship, and they're just going to kind of keep things between them. They're not going to tell any of their friends, and they're just going to keep things casual between them. And so obviously things eventually get kind of more complicated and feelings get involved, and it's just a really cute story. I really love this one. I love, again, just seeing the character development, especially with Dean, just like seeing the way he was before Allie, and then once he's with her he's like so committed and like devoted to her. It's just really cute to see that. I know Dean is like another favorite for a lot of people. Personally, he is ranked last for these four boys for me, but I do still really like him, and I love this story a lot. So the last book in this series is The Goal, and this one follows Tucker and Sabrina, and then it follows a pregnancy trope. So I feel like the pregnancy trope is what typically draws people away from this book, but I personally really think this book is so worth reading. It's so cute. I wouldn't really say I'm a huge fan of the pregnancy trope. I'm kind of indifferent to it. I don't mind it, but I don't typically try to find books that have it. But like I said, this book is really cute, and I definitely think that that shouldn't like deter you from reading it, because Tucker is seriously just like so sweet, and I love him so much. He's just like a perfect gentleman, and I was just very like indifferent towards Tucker before I read this book. I felt like he was just kind of like there. He's like a side character. He's very quiet. You really know nothing about him, and then you get to this book and you just like fall in love with him. He's just perfect, and I love him so much. And so basically in this book, Tucker meets Sabrina in a bar, and he just notices her right away. It's kind of like almost love at first sight for him. Like he sees her and he's like attracted to her and he wants to know her. So he goes up to her at this bar, he kind of hits on her, and he like lets her know right away that he's into her, which I just really love that. So Sabrina is like a little bit reluctant to talk to Tucker and like get to know him at first, just because she's kind of like doing her own thing at that point. Like she is very ambitious, and she just has like a lot of goals for her future, and she's not trying to like let anything distract her. She's planning to go to Harvard Law the following year. But eventually she kind of gives in to Tucker, and that night they end up having a one-night stand. She tells him it's just like a one-time thing, it's never gonna happen again. And after that, he obviously wants to see her again. He really liked her, and so he keeps trying to talk to her, but at the same time he definitely like leaves things up to her, but he lets her know that he's there and he wants to be with her and to see her again. And so eventually Sabrina starts to give in to Tucker again, and she kind of starts to give him a chance, and then she finds out that she's pregnant, and of course that kind of complicates things between them. And so the story kind of goes from there. You kind of just see like Sabrina and just her pregnancy and just like how hardworking she is, and then the fact that Tucker is very supportive of her and very like loving towards her, and it's just a really cute story. Like I said, I really love this one. It will definitely make you love Tucker, and it's definitely worth reading even if you're not a fan of the pregnancy trope. So that was the overview of this series. Like I said, it's a great series. I love it so much. These books are addicting. I picked up the first one and I had like no plans to really read the next three at the time, but then I just got hooked on that first one and I bought the rest of them, and I read them all like in less than a week, which was pretty quick for me, and I just love these books so much. I have become like obsessed with them. They're such a great series, and they're just those type of books that you can kind of read over and over again. But yeah, I absolutely love these books. I highly recommend them, especially now that the new book is coming out. It's the perfect time to read them. These books are also just so fun to talk about, so if you read them or if you have read them, please let me know. I would love to just talk about these books more because they're one of my favorite series. But that's it for the video. Subscribe if you liked it and want to see more, and thank you so much for watching.